very transformative year for me in a lot of ways, and primarily it's because you get pulled in so many different directions. You can do so many things, and especially when you're starting something new, there's so many shiny objects. And I can honestly say, if it wasn't for the focus, the level of focus and clarity, by having you and your perspective be able to look at my situation and be like, no, guy, look, this, let me help you. Let me help focus all this creative energy and this juices you have. Let me help you channel that in the right way. You're gonna have the biggest impact. Just being able to do that was transformative. So I can honestly say 2019 you helped really transform my thinking to really help me accomplish my greater mission and goal, which is to be able to have that big impact.
That's amazing, man. I remember so many times we've had these discussions, especially specifically, there were times you would come to me and say, hey man, I think I want to start this thing now, or I want to start doing this, or I want to start a YouTube channel, or I want to start my Instagram thing, or I want to go all hog online, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. And I think one of the challenges in entrepreneurship is trying to do so many different things and assuming that you can make it all work, because we have this superhero syndrome. We think we can do all of these things. But I remember so many times I had to rein you in and say, no, we're just gonna do this one thing.
Every conversation.
Even today, you had all these goals, and I literally melted it all down to one thing. Don't worry about all of these things. Yeah. And that's the essence, in fact, of getting sharp on your closing the gap, getting really sharp on everything and saying, let's just do one thing and do it really well. Let's not try to spend all our energy all over the place, because you don't really go anywhere. Yeah. And so I'm glad you actually stuck with me, because I know at times you were probably getting frustrated, I'm not getting the results. Yeah. And it takes that period of time to allow yourself to go through that period before you start seeing the results take off.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
Yeah. And tell me,
So that I would say the clarity and the focus have primarily been the biggest things, but you can get clarity and focus there from a lot of places. I think what the things that I appreciate most about you is just how your wit, in your intellect, and not necessarily from just sheer book reading perspective, but from a problem solving perspective. And I think you being an engineer has a lot to do with that. You bring that engineering mindset into really, really very quickly being able to dissect a problem into its pieces, understanding how to measure it, and then being able to come up with the solution and the alternatives. And so I can say within 5 minutes, I can explain something to you, and within 5 minutes internally, you've dissected it. You've come up with, how you're going to break the problem down. You've come up with the way to approach it. And I can just ramble, and then you can stop me. And then within 5 seconds, look, no, this is how you should look at this. This is how you should do this. And so I would say that's been one of the greatest things that I enjoy, because now you're transferring that to me. To now you're training me on how I should think about problems. Mm-hmm. So not only am I learning about the business, I think overall you're helping me with problem solving skills. You're helping me dissect how I should be looking at these problems and how to overcome obstacles. So I'll say that's one of the biggest things, is not only do you give me clarity and focus, by watching you dissect the problem, you're teaching me how to dissect it now. So now from the future, I know exactly how I should think about this. Because what would Manny think about this? How would Manny approach this problem? Manny would probably look at this metric and quantify it like this. And okay, that's how I should think about it. So now I'm kind of adopting a Manny mindset of how I approach problem solving.
Thank you. And to be fair, you are a computer engineer. We're both computer engineers from our past lives, so we're both pretty intent on problem solving. That's what we did for our living. That's what we enjoy doing. That's why we do what we do. So I know you're a really smart guy. And part of the problem solving, I feel sometimes that helps is as a coach, when you're outside the sphere,
right? Yeah.
like I can help you solve problems that you don't even see that exist, right? Or I can help, like I think the funny example of that time when you were frustrated, well, maybe let's talk about that, because you talk about that time when you were frustrated with people who did not want to commit to a daily call, right? You offered the daily accountability call, you charged for it, and there were people who were like, no, I don't want to do it, and you were frustrated, you were trying to convert them into a daily call. What happened?
I was trying to force people into something, and then you...
Tell me the whole story. Like, tell me
you were talking, we were passing each other on the way to the bathroom at the university club.
But even before, like, tell me the whole story of what had happened.
Oh, so I had been doing this campaign to bring on new membership for the month of December. It was my big December campaign.
And that's for your accountability program.
So I have an accountability program, and the way it's structured is every morning people call in, and then we hold each other accountable to doing their top 3 most important things. So it's daily accountability. Every day you're held accountable to doing your most important things you have to get done. And there's a time requirement to it. Like every morning, the call is 30 to 45 minutes. You have to dedicate time every morning to be on this call. And so as I'm going through my sales process, I kept noticing a common thread of that part was holding some people up. They'd ask, well, how long is the call? And how often do I have to be on this? And I'm like, well, it's every day. I mean, that's the whole point of accountability, right? Mm-hmm. Every day you be on this, and then you have to declare what you got to get done and check off the things you didn't do. And then I was having trouble converting people, because some people was, well, I can't commit to every day, or I don't know if that time doesn't work for me. I can't do 5 a.m. I can't do 6 a.m. I have kids. And so so I was walking past you in the hallway, and you asked me how things were going. I was like, well, I'm getting some, people are clicking on my stuff, but I'm having to get on the phone to try to close these people. Like, people aren't closing on the website. I have to do a lot of manual work to try to close these people. And you said, well, what are people asking you when they talk to you?
What's the biggest reason?
What's the biggest thing what's the biggest conversation point when you're talking to these people? And I was like, well, I have to overcome this objection of the time commitment to a daily accountability call. And you said, like, within 2 seconds, you said, well, if that's what people come up with, something that overcomes that objection, come up with a weekly call. Mm-hmm. And so then they don't have to be on daily, you just have one weekly call. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, fuck, why didn't I think about that? That's a great idea.
Right.
And that day I went home and I put on my website, there's a third option. It's a weekly accountability call. Mm-hmm. And that day, 3 people signed up without me having to do any additional work. Yeah. The process immediately started working. The automated process immediately started working once I added this new option that myself, I wouldn't have seen, but it's such an obvious answer, but it wasn't obvious to me because I was in the middle of this thing that I was doing. I didn't have that overarching perspective. Yeah. But that's a great example of how within a quick amount of time you were able to see, to help train me how to think about this. Yeah. If people are telling you what their objection is, like, they're telling you how to sell them. Yeah. They're telling you how to sell them. They're telling you that you need to find something that overcomes this objection, and then that's how you sell them. Yeah. And I had to overcome that, and you helped me overcome that.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Like, now I think about it, simply, like, okay, we took 6 minutes probably in that conversation total. Yeah. That 6 minutes will probably, from the estimate that you've given me so far, will at least bring $10,000 to your business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the 6 people who signed up are paying $200 a month each.
Yep.
Right? And that's $1,200 a month. And if you continue that on for 6 months, 10 months, that's $12,000. But this program will live on forever.
That's right.
For as long as you continue to do this.
And not only that, if you look at the lifetime value, they came in at the weekly part, but there are going to be other things that I'm offering. There's going to be a mastermind. They may convert up to go into the daily accountability, right? So that just got them in my sphere to now that person is going to keep leveling up.
Yeah, and that's the essence of coaching that's very hard to explain unless you're in it, right? That's when you start to see the breakthroughs happen. That's when you start to see the shifts happen. But those happen. So, like, it's not that you need 2 hours of my time to break through. You could literally have the breakthrough in 5 minutes with just the right shift.
Yeah.
right? The 5 minutes can be worth tens of thousands of dollars overall in the business.
That's right. Yeah.
It's really that simple.
So, and to that point, that 5 minutes, you not only was it that you just helped me create that one little thing, you helped shift my mindset to now I have more of a solution-based mindset. So now I know how to approach conversations with people. I know how to look and identify what their objectives is, and then use that to help fuel my sales conversations and my offering, to help not me to have this rigid offering, but let people help shape my offering. Listen to what they're saying and then create the offering based on what they're saying. You brought me that mindset.
Yeah.
So now, not only is it the $10,000 at that one little offering, you shifted my mindset to now create bigger, better offerings, which is immeasurable going forward.
Yeah, because you will continue to use this philosophy for
The
the rest of
philosophy,
your life.
you downloaded a new philosophy.
Yeah.
For me, yeah.
And today we're discussing about all the goals you had for the year, right? We have this crazy mind mapping process going on here, right? You had all of these goals that you had set up for your year, and I think you spent 10-15 minutes telling me about your goals, and then we tried to simplify everything. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, what happened in this process today?
Yeah, we started off, I had 10 things listed on the board when you first got here. We've erased them now because we've done a lot of mind mapping, but I had 10 big, hairy, audacious goals that I wanted to work on, and all of them, was important to me, and I wanted to invest energy into every single one of them. And, quickly you kind of helped me assess there's really one that if I did that one well, the rest of them would just be kind of a residual. They were residual, or they fed into really the one. And so you helped me really focus my energy on and see that if I just did that one thing well, everything else naturally manifests. It's a natural kind of manifestation of me rocking that one thing right. And so then we spent a lot of our conversation where I thought we might have spent a lot of our conversation on, all these other points. We spent, all of our time really dissecting and peeling the onion back on that one thing until we got down to the one action that leads to that one thing, right? And now I'm really clear on what that one action is that I have to focus on every day and every week, which really does make all the difference, because now instead of kind of being all over the place, I have clear directive on how to invest my energy.
Yeah, and I think the biggest challenge in entrepreneurship is not so much doing the things. Doing is easy. A lot of people do stuff. Yeah. The biggest challenge is doing the right thing at the right time.
Totally.
Right?
100%.
Doing the right thing at the right time. Because if you do the right thing at the wrong time, pain. Do the wrong thing at the right time, pain.
Yeah.
The only thing that truly gives you leverage is the right thing at the right time. And that's where I feel, as someone who's walked the path, I can help someone who's trying to walk the path like you. Like, I can see where you need to spend the energy right now, and that saves so much time and energy, because I've been there. I've made all those stupid mistakes that you're about to make. Because when you were explaining like you were going to dominate Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and podcasts, I had to help you clarify that you cannot go and dominate all of them. We're going to have to focus in on one thing that you're going to dominate on. Everything else will flow as a result of it. And that simple shift in thinking changes everything for you.
Totally.
Right?
100%. Because I think we minimize the effort that's required to do each 7 things well. Like you said, we have this superhero syndrome. And another perspective you brought is each one of those are completely separate strategies within self, and each one will require dedicated effort. And I don't think a lot of people are very good at kind of spreading themselves thin and getting mediocre at a lot of things, rather than really rocking out and becoming expert at the right thing at the right time. And we pride ourselves on multitasking and being able to do a lot of things at a mediocre level. And I think what you kind of brought was, this will require you not to just be mediocre at 7 things. It's better to be a rock star in one thing than to be mediocre at 7 things. And that's kind of what we're doing now. We've kind of zeroed in what's the first level? First step is, okay, well, what's the one thing I should be a rock star at? What's the one thing that's going to generate the best results towards what my mission is?
Yeah.
And then, all right, now let's put a strategy together how to be a rock star at that thing.
Yeah. The core essence of business, the core essence of leverage, as defined, like leverage is a strategy in some ways, is a very overused term, but understood.
Yeah.
People throw around strategy as if it's a very simple thing without understanding the essence of strategy. The essence of strategy is understanding that there's one lever amongst everything that's going around, all the madness that's going around in your business right now. There's one thing, if you spend all of your time and focus and energy on that thing, it will radically transform your business compared to anything else that you will do in your business. And that's where you need to identify what it is and then go after it full force. And it's like it's the fundamental of business and life in many ways, but for our society today, we're so enamored with the shiny objects that every day there's TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook, and everyone's like, oh, I'm going to dominate this, and I'm going to dominate that, I'm going to do this, No, man, all you need to do is do one thing so damn well that you become, that is leverage. Everything else is spastic movement all over the place, which you can never dominate until you get one thing right. So that's like my rant forever, because I keep struggling with this. And not only that, like, I think I applaud you for going through the first few months of the coaching period where we were working together, and I know the results weren't coming yet, right? Because you were like struggling, like, hey man, you suggested this and it's not yet there yet, like what's going on? The challenge is also to stick, to believe that it works and to stick with the process. Because if you had abandoned that, you would have gone to a new person to try another strategy and try another thing, and it would have again cost you problems. And again, you would have changed strategy, and then you would have been let me try to be a speaker, let me try to do this.
Right.
None of those work unless we give it the time to work. Remember, like we talk about this, the value of disappointment. A lot of times, a lot of the effort is spent for people going through this phase, but we have to go through this phase to get the momentum, the forward momentum, the progress. People assume that life is a straight line, but a lot of the curve, a lot of this period, people don't understand. And that's where growth is. And that's where the challenge is. If you allow yourself to go through this phase, you can do a lot in life, because once you go through this phase, you will beat the expectations of everything. But if you expect everything to be like this for the first 2 months and 3 months and 4 months, everything is linear progress, you're in for trouble, you're in for pain. So as long as you accept that it's going to be hard, the acceptance of hardship is part of the journey in some ways.
Totally, it's like a rite of passage.
It's a rite of passage.
You gotta earn it.
And you have to go through that like learning phase. You have to surrender to the process to make it all work.
Totally.
You don't expect it to be a switch that just turns around. There's no magic anywhere. There's no magic. We're just figuring out the optimal strategy to make it really work, to take off. But it takes time to figure out the optimal strategy to take off.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
Another thing you said, which really touched me, and something like I remember when I called you right around December, around Christmas time or New Year's time, like when we had a little chat, and you just talked about it as well. Like you were talking with your wife about the end of the year and how your business has been affected as a result of our coaching relationship. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, man. So I use December as a good time to reflect back on the year, calculate my wins, calculate, my losses or where I could have gone a little better, and to use that as fuel to formulate the next year. So it's this kind of in-depth process I go through, and I do it with my wife too, like involve my people that I care about. And I was reflecting on my business, and initially I was like, I'm not as far along as I'd like to be. But my wife, she brought this clarity to me. She's like, Jarvis, this point last year, you were doing something completely different. You dropped that, and now you're building something from scratch. There is no playbook to what you're doing. Not only are you building something that never existed before, you're profitable. You have a trajectory, and you have momentum. Like, give yourself credit. It's just like, what do you think was from? Like, what do you think amounted to you being able to do that? Like, reverse directions and build something from nothing out of thin air, and actually have it like you have you have a fan base, you have a following, you have people subscribe to it. Like, how did you do that? And I was like, it really was 100% because of the decision I made to work with you, Manny. And I can honestly say the progress that I've made of just how I approach things, everything from what I'm offering, the value that I'm offering, how I'm delivering, everything has been touched by a conversation that I've had with you. Everything that I'm doing was in somehow, shape, or form shaped by conversations that we've had. And not only that, not only just us having a conversation, I would actually go off and I would implement and do exactly what you said. Go off and send these 4 emails in this order on these days, and you will see some results. And I went off and I did exactly that, and I would see some results, right? And so I can honestly say, looking back, 100% of the progress that I made last year was because of us talking on a regular basis, meeting, doing this, getting together and doing this every 2 weeks. That investment that I made has paid off 100-fold in the level of progress that I've made as a person. And you can't really quantify that. Like, aside from financially, I think you've helped shape my mindset into how I approach the business, how I think about things. And that, I can honestly say, that's been one of the biggest additions to my year, was us working together.
Thank you, man. That means a lot to me. And I remember having the conversation on the phone, and again today having the conversation again, because to me, I get a lot of joy out of doing the book summary part of the business. I used to be an engineer just like you. I left all of that. But the greatest joy is really being able to see how what I do affects someone's life right away. Like in doing my book summaries, I don't often get to hear from people how it's affected their lives. Literally, I have to send emails and ask people about what's happening, man. Did it help you? How did it help you? You've probably seen some of my emails. I remember sending one of the emails to someone, to my group on mental toughness, and the guy responded to me saying one line. He said, "It doubled my income." And I'm like, it's just gonna send one line about this damn thing. But that's the level of, like, unfortunately, like, that's all I get sometimes, right? So that's not fulfilling enough sometimes, right? So the fulfillment is only found in me reading the books and sharing those ideas, but not so much in, like, people telling me how it affects their lives. So when I get to work with someone like you, when I get to work with my coaching clients, it's like the level of fulfillment I get from seeing the progress and from literally being able to see where you were and where you are today is immeasurable. It brings me so much joy knowing that I've been able to help you get to this level. And I know there's so much more we can build. But that joy is, like, that's what it's about, man. Like, yeah, I mean, business is great. Like, it's great to be on a computer and do your thing, but to be able to help you, to be able to help you get your business to the next. Not only that, you had a baby this year. You literally had a baby this year, and you made it all work through that hard time.
I tell people I birthed 2 babies in 2019. There's my real baby, my physical baby with my wife and my family, and then there's the birth of the morning hero. My grand vision of how I'm going to impact the world by helping them, get clear and achieve their goals. Like that is a baby within itself, and so. They both were born at the same time, and I had to really invest a lot of energy into nurturing both, and so that required a level of focus that I can still spend enough time nurturing my real baby because I was so dialed in and focused, and I didn't need, 18 hours a day to focus on growing and nurturing the morning hero baby. Because you helped me focus my energy, and so I was more efficient, so that I can still dedicate time to my real baby too.
And to me, it means so much more that I was able to be there and help you through the fact that you had a baby. Like, to me, knowing that I'm able to help the Leverson family in some ways and to help you guys build something great, it means so much more, right? I know your wife personally, and I've never met the baby yet, but I know, like, that to me is so much more joy, knowing that whatever we're building here is going to. It's not just for making more money. There's so much more to it. There's so much more. You and I are both on missions together to do great things in this world rather than just make a lot of money. Like that's never really fulfilling in itself. I know that because I sit in front of a computer a lot of times and I do summaries that don't really fulfill me as much as this does. As much as helping someone really get the results, especially because you're a friend, get the results and see those results in real life. So it means so much more to me, man. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's bring it in, bro.
Yeah, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.